Mr. Corneli Kleinfelder.
So mahalo for letting me do what we usually call a breach, and we had to work a little bit, and I really appreciate the LRB staff, my own staff, and the clerk for helping me get this done and on today. I would not have pushed so hard if I didn't feel this is incredibly urgent. About a week ago, the governor chose to uh, put a halt on evictions for non-payment of rent for the residential sector, and that is great because we're all wondering how we're going to make payment on our bills. But what I failed to hear in that press release that he did was that this would extend to the commercial sector as well. And as I've watched over the past month, 6 weeks, I have seen a multitude of businesses. And I did a reach out via Facebook about 3 days ago, and so far I have had about 268 businesses on this island that are closed due to the pandemic. Every single one of those businesses has a rent due, has utilities due. They have the same thing as any other person, but they're a business. I clarified with the Office of Consumer Protection and Affairs and was told that this does not apply to the commercial sector. We know there's funding coming down, and we heard that from Mr. Schatz today. The funding is coming, but in the meantime, these businesses are basically being mandated to close. And that mandate doesn't go any further than that. You're mandated to close, but no one is stopped from billing. You're not stopped from being billed for anything as a business. And I expressed this before. The business community is dying, and we need support. So I wrote this resolution, and I'm looking for your support today. But I'm making a statement that the state needs to recognize what is happening. If you're going to mandate that businesses close, but not stop the drain from the back end and all those businesses, then the sacrifice is not being shared amongst all the different sectors. This goes to Oahu. This is Kauai. This is our island. This is every island. I mean, really, this is nationwide. All of the businesses are closing because they have to. We have to share the sacrifice. So I ask for your support today for this resolution. This is incredibly important and crucial, and I look forward to any comments that anyone has to this. This is a huge concern for me, for every business on this island in this state.
Okay. Anyone else? In Kona?
Yes, please.
Yes, Ms. Villegas.
I really want to commend Councilmember Cornelia E. Kleinfelder for bringing this forward. I have a deep appreciation for the research and the statistics that he's included in this resolution. I just want to read one of them here. Whereas the 2018 small business profile created by the U.S. Small Business Administration Office of Advocacy stated that there were 128,863 small businesses in the state of Hawaii, which equates to 99.3% of all businesses in the state of Hawaii. And whereas according to the 2018 United States Bureau of Labor Statistics report in the state of Hawaii, small businesses employed 360,475 people, or 66.2% of the private workforce. Being personally frustrated with our federal government and some of the decisions made there on how our tax monies have gone to subsidize major corporations and Wall Street and whatnot in the plight of this COVID epidemic pandemic. I see these numbers as a really direct reflection of the need to support our local small businesses. And it also, kind of piggybacks with what Val was saying, as this being one of the primary opportunities for us to transition from just relying on visitors. So I support this resolution, and I'm very hopeful that as we have an opportunity to make different decisions for our state, that the governor would recognize that as well and take into consideration small businesses and the need to support them. They've, still have to pay those bills, but they're not getting any income. I know I've heard from a number of different constituents and business owners in Kona that are extremely frustrated because they have to be closed, but large box stores are open and they sell very similar products. And while they may have essential products there as well, there's some frustration in the discrepancy for who's allowed to be open and who's not, and whose stock prices are thus going up in this time of crisis. So there's a lot of imbalances, and so this being an opportunity for a little more equitable support across the board, I think would be very wise and poignant and greatly appreciated. With that, I yield.
Okay, anyone else in Kona? And is Mr. Richards in the room by any chance? Okay, there he is. Okay. We have a motion on the floor.
Chair, could I just add?
Yeah, go
Sorry,
ahead.
just real quick. Thank you, Matt, for putting this forward. I think we heard from Senator Schatz this morning that there's a lot of money out there, but it's just not going to get into the hands of small business, especially the small business that we're talking about, right? The heartbeat of our island economy. It's just not going to get to folks fast enough. And because it's first come, first serve, I just worry that our small business doesn't have the support to get through that bureaucratic process and apply to get into the queue. So maybe that's something we can work on together, is getting them that support, and maybe working with SBDC. They have an excellent toolkit that really breaks down the process for small business. I want to use this opportunity to not just lend support, but also share with my colleagues that UHERO recently published an excellent briefing on what our state can do to get control of this epidemic, but it also provides a playbook for how we can revive our economy in a way that isn't 100% reliant on tourism. So I hope that is some reading that everybody takes into consideration as we start, I think right now, having to start, as best we can, plan for the recovery of our island and our state. Chair, I yield.
Okay. Ms. Leloy?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And yeah, I'm going to be supporting this. Last night, I spent some time with small businesses, Native Hawaiian Chamber, specifically speaking to this issue. And what we see as the typical mom and pop stores, there's a lot more out there by way of laymakers and people who kind of provide that aloha through that visitor experience, who are struggling, but they're still the backbone of our community. And with the SBA loans that they have out there, it allows for 8 weeks of payroll, mortgage, interest, rents, and other utility costs to be forgiven. But one individual shared that in the rental agreement, sometimes there's a force majeure clause that would allow them to kind of compensate for non-payment of rent, and to try and apply the use of this pandemic as under the force majeure clause, along if they have renter's insurance. So those are other tools in the toolkit that Ms. Kirkowitz spoke about. So yes, I will be supporting this particular resolution as a way, again, to bridge the gap until, government can really kind of help us out, which will come, but not quick enough. So thank you, I yield.